Alright guys, we are a day removed from Game Awards. Of course, we saw really cool things like a little taste of the new Mass Effect, Sephiroth is in Smash, and of course, because we are a PlayStation channel, we did get a little bit of PlayStation news regarding an upcoming game by a developer that I love dearly that isn't really the biggest developer in the world, but man, I do love them so much. We got a little taste of Housemarque's Returnal coming to PS5. We got a release date, we got some new details, we got new gameplay. Your boy is slept and well rested. Let's talk about Returnal. What is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD 100D here, back here in PlayStation Source. Let's talk about Returnal. And in case you want to read it for yourself, again, I will link it below in the description to the PlayStation blog where we have all these details laid out for us to digest and enjoy here. So starting off here, of course, Housemarque's debut on PS5, coming off of games like Dead Nation, which I loved, and Resogun, which I loved even more. On PS4 day one release, Resogun was a phenomenal day one for the PS4 back in 2013. Returnal releases on March 19th, 2021. I hope this date sticks. I really hope it sticks. This seems like a very good time to put out this game, you know, and this is also very telling of like, okay, maybe this means also that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart isn't coming out in March, you know, maybe that could be the case. Who knows when that is coming out, but nice to hear that Returnal is coming out March. I think it's a great day for it. Let's keep it going here. Of course, Returnal will be a third-person action game that incorporates roguelike features woven with narrative storytelling. So this is what I like a lot because, of course, you were seeing the game here on screen in the background as I'm talking, but it looks very fast-paced, very action-packed, and you couple that with a really cool story that we're about to go over, as well as incorporating elements of roguelike games. That sounds like a cool combination. I'm down for it. You know, it sounds a little bit like Hades, you know, because like Hades had a great story, it had a really action-packed, fast-paced type of combat, and it's obviously a roguelike. So having Returnal be this similar thing, but in a third-person perspective, and you know, having that type of gameplay, seems like it's going to be a very cool game. We'll see how it turns out, but let's read over what Housemarque had to say about the game's story and overall plot synopsis. In Returnal, you get to deep dive into the mind of Celine, an Astra space scout trapped in a hellish loop of endless resurrection while trapped on a hostile planet. The roguelike formula mixed with exploration platformer elements allow for a unique way to explore the planet and continue the battle she is fighting. Of course, there will be plenty of Housemarque arcade flourishes present, so prepare to be bombarded by volleys of bullet hell projectiles along the way. So I'm really glad that, you know, also we are going to talk about this as well, but it seems like they're still keeping a lot of their old DNA of being a arcade type of developer, you know, just like the games of course before Resogun and Dead Nation, all the good stuff were like very much, you know, top down or like isometric type of view type of arcade style games. So having this third person is obviously getting away from that type of format, but it's nice to see that they're still keeping a lot of elements of the old school arcade, you know, type of style that they used to make. So moving on from here, of course, what is a PS5 game without talking about the super fast loading? They say it is the PS5 SSD to commemorate that, of course, and there's no surprise there, but they also lean a lot into the haptic feedback of the DualSense as well in Returnal. It's said to give players extra awareness in gameplay, as well as feeling the quote natural ambiance of the alien planet, as the controller will mimic a lot of the environmental effects in the game. So that sounds pretty cool right there. I'm sure we'll hear, you know, some crackles and feel some crackles from the DualSense or whatever, you know, it's gonna be some cool stuff. I digress, right? Also, thanks to those good old adaptive triggers on the DualSense, we will be having alternate firing modes for every weapon in the game. Housemarque says this on the PlayStation blog. By using the adaptive triggers, players can move seamlessly between aiming down sight and activating alternate fire. Squeeze it halfway down to aim down the iron sight, squeeze it all the way down to activate your rechargeable alternate fire attack. Going back and forth between modes on a single trigger will become second nature in no time. And so honestly, this on paper sounds kind of weird, right? Like, you know, we've had some games early on with the PS5 where we have felt and seen the adaptive triggers and action and everything, most notably I think for the, like, you know, action of pulling a trigger in a gun, probably Call of Duty, honestly. And I don't know how I feel about having to, you know, squeeze squeeze L2 like halfway to just aim down sight, and then, you know, do a second, you know, type of squeeze to do an alternate fire mode, maybe it'll be fine. You know, like I feel like like as long as it's like hard enough to engage and, you know, pull through that trigger to get to the alternate fire mode, maybe it's gonna be fine. But I don't know, like that seems a little bit weird to me, guys. What do you think in the comments below? How are you guys feeling about having this, like, you know, 2-stage L2 motion where you gotta pull the trigger halfway to just aim down sight, and then the alternate firing mode is when you do a full press of the L2 trigger? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But moving on from that, you can't talk about a PS5 game again. You know, we got, of course, the whole triad here. We got the SSD, we got the haptic feedback, we got the adaptive triggers, and now of course we have that 3D audio, which will be coming to Returnal. Housemarque says they'll deliver on having, quote, extremely realistic 3D audio capabilities with compatible headphones, of course. The game's soundscape will add a whole new layer of being able to tell what is going on around you, even in moments of silence. They say that you'll actually feel alone on the alien planet. Well, I say, you know what? Joke's on them. Joke's on them. I'm already alone. All right, I'm already alone as hell. So, you know, they can take that to the bank. All right, I don't need no 3D audio to make me feel alone. Okay, so that was all the info given to us from the PS blog, courtesy of Housemarque. Thanks for that info. But let's go over some details that I wanted to lay out in the trailer. Okay, so starting off here from the top. Okay, they opened this up yesterday during the Game Awards with this shot in a hallway with a door that looks just like PT. Listen to me, Housemarque, you foul for this. PlayStation, you're foul for this. I'm not the biggest PT fan, but I did have my good friend Christian Buckley with me reacting to the Game Awards yesterday, and he was hyped for like 3 seconds. Okay, like my man was hyped, and then it just fell apart. Okay,
is waiting at the beginning.
That's
holy shit,
the PT hall.
that looks like PT.
But no.
Oh shit, let's go! It's Returnal. Okay, bet. I want to see this. Guys, I'm sorry. I was big. I know it was a big letdown. Not because he thought that, you know, Returnal didn't look good, but it looked like PT in the beginning, and so it felt like a little bit of a bait and switch. So, you know, that one I'm gonna have to give you guys a foul for that, flag on the play. But moving on, okay, talking about the game itself, the colors, the effects when you're shooting, the overall particle effects look and definitely remind me of a Housemarque game, most specifically for me personally. And the one I played the most recently was, of course, Resogun. It definitely reminds me of that. I'm loving that we're still gonna have those vibrant poppy colors with those effects when you're shooting things in the game. Very, very good stuff. Very much like a Housemarque game. And definitely when they said that they are going to keep a lot of that arcade game style DNA into Returnal, we can definitely see it in terms of the elements like damage numbers in the game. There seems to be some really cool adrenaline upgrades as well, pickups when, you know, enemies die and different stuff like that. The game looks super fast and fun to play. It's definitely not anything like revolutionary from what I'm seeing, you know, just gameplay wise, but it definitely does call back to previous Housemarque games, and that's what makes me really, really hyped for that. And honestly, guys, when I was watching it a few times over last night, it really did remind me of Doom in terms of the combat. Now, hear me out, guys. Of course, it is third person, okay? I'm not saying it's 100% like Doom, but imagine Doom in third person. That's what I'm kind of feeling with Returnal in terms of its very, very fluid, fast-paced combat, and the overall kind of pace kind of feels like a Doom pace to it. So I'm very excited to see if that actually holds up, you know, just from looking at the game, and it translates to actually playing the game as well in March of 2021. But also in the trailer, we do see the player use that alternate firing mode in a very, very small snippet of the gameplay. Very cool to see that and see how that looks. And also, there was a boss fight at the end of this whole gameplay trailer that looked dope. I cannot wait to see what happens in other boss fights and how other boss fights look in the game as well. But also, I could be blind, right? And I wasn't sure if maybe I missed it in the gameplay trailer. I kept looking at it, like, you know, a few times last night trying to see if I could find it, but I couldn't really see a combo system in the game. I hope that it's still there, or maybe I'm just looking at something in the UI that seems to be a combo system, but I just don't realize that's what it is or whatever. But I do hope that, you know, if they're gonna double down on keeping all these different elements from their past arcade games, that they at least keep the combo system in the game as well, because I know, you know, definitely from like a lot of people in Housemarque fans, you know what I'm saying, fan of their games. They love combo and score chasing elements in Housemarque games. So hopefully Returnal still has that in the full build. But overall, I'm left very impressed by this game, and it's showing at Game Awards. Obviously, you know, it wasn't like the hugest reveal in the world, but it was still pretty cool to see it again, and really cool to get a release date. And overall, I mean, it looks very fun to play, and we'll see how it all unfolds when the full game releases. You can definitely consider me hyped for the game, and I'll definitely be playing this day one. But most importantly, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you hyped for Returnal? Are you gonna play it? Did you like other Housemarque games in the past? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure also while you are down there to check out our description, where you can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, and our Anchor link. That way you can listen to our long form content and podcast format. Those of course being Road to PS5 and Road to Miles Morales. Those two shows have ended, but fret not. 2021, we are back with a vengeance. Road 2 series is coming back next year. Like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as subscribe to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.